How to Get Good at Art, Part 3, Design Techniques. This is going to be a lightning round because we're going to have projects in class where we'll do 2 or 3 of these different design techniques per class until the end of the class, so that we can get experience using Photoshop to apply these techniques. So this is just a brief lightning tour introduction of what we'll be doing. Harmony. When you combine elements, either using adjacent colors, similar shapes, or even related textures in a visually satisfying way. Variety. You can vary the sizes, shapes, and colors, and you can create visual diversity in objects that are actually similar. Balance. Where does your eye go? If there's too much weight on one edge, that might be a problem. Are there distractions obscuring the focal point? There's also symmetrical design and asymmetrical balance. Think of a seesaw. Different sizes can have balance. Could be the distance from the center, or weight, or the number of objects. All those can together make an image appear balanced. Alignment. Just like with text, where you can have left, right, or center aligned, shapes can also be aligned. This alignment can be obvious or invisible. What you do want to avoid is the appearance of arbitrary alignment. For instance, where 2 objects that are not actually related and may actually be far apart from each other are nevertheless aligned in some way. If that stands out in the image, it could distract the viewer. So be careful. Proximity. Spatial relationships should make sense. Related things should be close to each other. Unrelated things should be farther apart. Repetition. Repeating the same thing, repeating the same thing, repeating the same thing can get boring. If you use repetition in your design, and you should, you can mix it up with some variety, and we can take cues from the natural world. Rhythm. Repeating a color, shape, or texture with style. Varying the repetition, for example, small to large or warm to cool colors, and creating sets of these repetitions. The Adidas logo is, I believe, trying to represent a mountain that you can climb. And it's just using these cut-off rectangles, each one a little bit longer. So it creates this rhythm. Scale. As we remember from our Mario resize exercise, Mario can change sizes depending on what mushrooms he's eaten recently. So we can use the relative size of one element to another, and it will create a visual hierarchy. In this instance, Mario he's eaten the super mushroom. However, his brother, who is always looking up to Mario, of course, even though Mario is normally shorter than Luigi, is a smaller object in this picture. Movement. This refers to creating a path for the viewer's eye to travel along. Negative space. Area that is left empty is not actually empty. It allows the subjects to breathe, or it could be put to creative use. Gestalt is part of your homework, and I have a website that I want you to go to. Spend 8 minutes, look at the images, and read the article, the text of the article. And so Gestalt, it's a concept that kind of sums up a lot of what we've previously talked about, but it kind of gives you a different framework for thinking about these things. So read that article, and that is your homework for this week. Now let's talk about some simple composition techniques. These are not as abstract, these are more practical perhaps than other things we've been talking about so far. The rule of thirds, basically when you put a subject in the center, hey, that's acceptable, that's fine, but sometimes it's boring. So if you imagine splitting the canvas into 3 parts, vertically and 3 parts horizontally, you can position interesting things like people or dogs or trees on the boundaries between these parts. And also intersections of the horizontal and vertical boundaries are good places to put, a main focal point, like someone's eye or their nose. Framing, sometimes just cropping an image differently can fix things. You can remove distractions, and you can make the subject occupy a more prominent position in the frame. And you can frame the same image multiple times, and the same image can have multiple interpretations depending on how you frame it. Especially if you're taking something from portrait and you're converting it to a landscape. Changing the framing gives you opportunities there to do lots of things, to have the same image be read two different ways. Adjusting the white balance is a skill that we need to learn how to do. Basically, adjusting the white balance is fixing the overall tone on your image. And if you've taken, a picture that you like, but it turns out when you look at it on your computer, you say, oh my gosh, because of fluorescent lights, it's too blue. You can actually fix that. And there are easy ways to do that in Photoshop. If you're taking outside photography, that's the perfect light source there, depending on the time of day, is the sun. And so, images tend to be very nicely exposed under that kind of light. However, cloudy days can, make the sun, muted. And so if you're trying to composite two images together that were taken under different light sources, with different, what we call color temperatures, sometimes it is a good idea to just equalize the white balance so that each of the photos are the same. And then if you want to apply a color look to it, you can do that by applying a LUT in Photoshop. So get everything to the same kind of white balance first, and then take it back to whatever color look that you want after you've done your compositing. And that is the last technique we'll talk about, but we will be working with these later on in the class, so be prepared.